Imagine having supernatural powers and using them not to fight crime or save the world, but to create fake ghosts to save your family's struggling hotel business. That's exactly what happened at a castle on Loch Ness in 1978.
Well, that's certainly not how I expected a ghost story to begin. Tell me more about this unusual business venture.
So picture this. There's this elderly barman, Angus MacDuff, barely 5'2", helping himself to the hotel's whiskey supply after hours. He's singing to himself in this darkened bar when strange things start happening.
Let me guess. He becomes the unwitting test subject for these supernatural marketing efforts.
Exactly right. You see, hidden in the corner was this 12-year-old boy with genuine telepathic abilities. And what does he do with these incredible powers? Creates an apparition of a headless Highlander in full traditional garb, floating around the bar.
That's quite the creative use of supernatural abilities. How did our whiskey-loving friend handle this unexpected performance?
Oh, poor Angus completely lost it, pressed himself against the shelves, shouting for divine intervention. The commotion brought in the hotel owner, Andrew Forbes, who couldn't be more different from Angus, this massive 6'2" mountain of a man with wild brown hair and a huge red beard.
So we've got quite the cast of characters here. A drunk barman, a telepathic child, and a mountain of a hotel owner. But what's really fascinating is why this was happening in the first place.
Well, that's where the story gets really interesting. The Castle Hotel was struggling financially, so much so that Andrew Forbes was considering selling this place that had been in his family for generations. Their only steady business was coming from American tourists hunting for the Loch Ness Monster.
You know, it's rather clever when you think about it. They were already capitalizing on one local legend. Why not add another?
That's exactly what young Andy, who by the way was Andrew's son, thought when he suggested they advertise the castle as haunted. He even came up with a money-back guarantee if guests didn't see a ghost.
Now that's what I call vertical integration, creating your own supply to meet demand. Though I imagine poor Angus might have preferred a different marketing strategy.
You know what's fascinating? This whole situation reflects a larger trend we saw in the late 1970s, where historic properties across Scotland were struggling to adapt to modern tourism demands. Many were forced to sell or convert to other uses.
That really puts Andy's ghost scheme in perspective. He was essentially trying to preserve his family's heritage through rather unconventional means.
And when you look at the tourism industry in Scotland today, these kinds of supernatural attractions are actually a huge draw. The ghost tour business alone brings in millions of pounds annually to cities like Edinburgh.
Though I imagine most tour operators have to work a bit harder to produce their ghostly encounters than young Andy did.
The really interesting thing is how this story shows the intersection between preservation and innovation. Here's this ancient castle having to adapt to modern economic realities, even if that adaptation involves telepathically projected ghosts.
Well, that raises an intriguing question. How many other historic properties might have survived if they'd had their own supernatural marketing department?
You know, it makes you wonder about all those ghost stories we hear from historic hotels and castles. Maybe some of them started as creative solutions to similar financial problems.
Though hopefully with less whiskey stealing and more traditional marketing approaches.
The legacy of this story really shows how sometimes the most effective solutions come from thinking way outside the box, or in this case, outside the physical realm entirely.
And it certainly gives us something to think about next time we're staying in a historic hotel and hear things going bump in the night.